Hi, Des Pheby here, and welcome to my next episode of The Franchise Entrepreneur. And today's subject, or one of the things I want to talk to you about, is the doom and gloom of the high street and what that means to franchising in particular, but also just generally buying a business. This is really doom and gloom, or should it really be seen as an opportunity? Me, personally, I think there's never been a better time for franchising, or indeed for actually buying a small to medium-sized business. And some of the reasons for that I'm going to explain now. So why do I believe that this is possibly the best ever time to invest in a franchise, or indeed start looking around for opportunities to buy small to medium-sized businesses? A number of reasons. So let's start with pension changes. The very fact that people now have more control over their pensions and able to release pretty significant funds in their retirement, and a lot of people are retiring early as well, and they're getting access to those funds earlier, which obviously they're going to look for a home for that money. Not all of that money is going out for discretionary spend. A lot of people are looking to invest it into opportunities that they think that they're going to get a better return on. Pensions are not giving great returns. Having that control over that money gives opportunities to them that were not there a few years ago, and everyone's vying for that money. Franchising is a good home, or a good potential home, for those kind of investors. Like I said, people are retiring early, so they've had their first career. This is almost like a secondary career for them, if indeed they want to work in that business. Some of them may just look at it as an investment, as a part of their retirement fund, and others will look at it as another career opportunity for them. If you're retiring at 55, 58, or even 60, you're not dead. You're not looking to completely retreat from the world. A lot of people really looking to be active. People are certainly living longer now and are looking for to prolong their working career. So pension changes is a big reason. We also have an older population now. Without looking at statistics, the population is getting older. More people, as I said, are retiring, and they're retiring early, and they're also getting access to their pension funds. So you have an older generation. They are living longer, still looking to stay active. They're still looking to supplement their incomes, and franchising, as we all know, has proven statistics that you are more likely to succeed in franchising than you would be by starting up a new business. So it's a very attractive place for them to place their investment. Another reason, franchising has become more mainstream in the last few years. It's certainly, it's still got a way to go. There's still a lot of myth and cloudiness about the business. There's still a lot for people to learn, but it has certainly become more mainstream than it was a few years back. So the understanding of franchising and how it works has become clearer. It's a lot easier to find businesses in the market now, with more and more businesses advertising online. It's easier to find businesses and find opportunities to invest in. You used to have to work a lot harder to find potential franchisees than you do these days, and that's because there's so much more done on the internet, and it's so much more accessible now. Older people are a lot more tech savvy than they were even a few years ago, or at least up to the point of they understand the internet, they understand how to Google, they understand how to do searches. If they're anything like me, that's about as far as their limitations go, but that's enough. And they didn't have access to that a number of years ago, and obviously with the internet and broadband being rolled out across the country, over the last 10 years and bringing in more places that are more remote, it gives more opportunity. It's a simple fact. So more people have more access to online, and our phones themselves are mini computers. So again, people are now, you don't have to have a computer at home. As long as you've got an iPhone or the equivalent, then bang, you're away. You've got the opportunity to research businesses. Financing is, I think, more readily available now than it probably has been in many a year. Obviously, there are banks that have become more difficult in terms of lending criteria, but generally there is more availability for you to gain finance. Now that can be through asset purchase companies, it can be through the banks, but there are multiple opportunities for you to be able to borrow money. And if you've got equity in your property, then it's even easier. And that's another reason that you've got opportunity to buy businesses now. A lot of people have got equity in their properties, and it's relatively easy to release some of that equity in order to purchase a business. Again, you probably didn't have that kind of equity available to you, 20, 30 years ago. Franchising doesn't require any formal qualifications. So whereas we've been talking about the older generation, the younger generation have an opportunity to enter into business and run their own business, and there aren't that many restrictions for them. Now obviously they have to raise money. Now they can do that through family, and as I said, the older generation has more capital available to them, equity releases, etc. They're more willing to back their children in instances like franchising, where it's a safer opportunity for them. So young people, they can be faced with a choice: go to university and come out of that with 30, 40, 50,000 pounds worth of debt, or maybe not go to university and buy a franchise or a equivalent and use that money to buy a business. That's a pretty attractive alternative, I would have thought. So you've got a lot of options that are now available to the older generation and younger generation. Now you come to the economic situation. So obviously everyone in the whole world is aware of Brexit and the political stalemate that there is there at the moment. Now obviously that adds to uncertainty. The high street itself has problems, retail in general has problems, and there's been some pretty negative news on a lot of casual dining restaurants and things like that. So if you just looked at the papers, you would think, well, this is not a great time for investing in any kind of business, particularly on the high street. And I would say, although there is still uncertainty because of Brexit, I don't think it's going to, in my personal opinion, going to make a lot of difference regardless of whatever deal is finalised. You're going to see some fluctuations with suppliers and things like that, but I don't think it's the main drive or the main issue with the high street. I think there are fantastic opportunities on the high street at the moment. If you're looking to put a business or buy a business or a restaurant into the high street, it comes with risks obviously, but in terms of the deals that you can potentially get from landlords at the moment are pretty attractive if you're willing to walk away from a deal if it's not what you want. You can squeeze landlords in certain cities at the moment pretty hard and get good deals out there. Now that may not apply to every city, but certainly there's opportunities there for you to explore and getting very good rent-free periods, pushing down rents and getting very attractive deals. Obviously you have to do your due diligence as you would normally do on whether the high street that you're looking at is going to be able to support your business. But I actually personally think there's going to be a bit of a renaissance on the high street, because I think councils are getting to grips with the fact that they have to change, and the type of businesses that they need to attract into the centres, and indeed, you know, how they develop those centres themselves. Now, that's not every council, and you know, a lot of them are in a terrible state, but there are ones out there that are actively trying to improve it. And I think if you can choose wisely, there's some great deals to be had out there, and mix that with potential of franchising in general, it's more attractive. Now, you've also got to remember that what has happened on the high street has thinned the competition out. So certainly, for instance, with our restaurants, there was a saturation point, and I still think there are far too many of them on the high street, and there's a lot of still samey kind of brands out there, and it's not finished by any means. I do think there's going to be continued consolidation and thinning out of some of those brands, and more independents coming onto the high street, which I think is really exciting, that there will be more independents coming onto the high street. But there is a thinning out, which I think if you're in a strong position, I think it works in your favour. As I said, property rents are diminishing. There are lots of empty stores out there. Pick the right city, pick the right town. There's real potential that you can really take advantage of that. As I said, pensions, housing market, you know, in terms of where people will put their money, that have money, there aren't an awful lot of options out there. You know, interest rates are poor, have been for a long time. ISAs are poor, not offering a great return. The housing market is a little bit all over the place, so it's probably more susceptible to the events of Brexit and what's going to happen from that. So, you know, it's maybe not as attractive as it used to be. Pensions are not particularly rewarding either, hence the reason a lot of people are taking out their pensions or taking out cash advances on those pensions and reinvesting. Now, there's another reason why it's a good opportunity for certainly young franchise brands to take advantage of the market as it is at the moment. There are a lot of older brands, a lot of older franchise brands out there that are losing their sparkle. They're not as attractive. People are looking for something a little bit different, and that's just to new investors. But existing investors who actually already own some of those franchises are looking at things and thinking, well, you know, let's just take for an example, and I'm not picking on this particular business, but I'm just using it as an example. So say Subway's saturated the market with its offering. Existing franchises are less inclined, I believe, to take on more franchises, more stores, and expand their portfolio of Subways, because they know it's a saturated market. But they also know it's an old style franchise now. It's not particularly exciting. People are there's a lot of competition out there. Subway's seen as being a pretty old hat now. So sales are pretty flat, and I know that for a fact. And I know, because I get an awful lot of Subway inquiries myself, from people who already have Subway franchises, and they are looking to either jump ship completely, or they're looking to no longer expand on their portfolio of Subway stores, but they're looking for a younger brand that has and is offering better opportunities, better financial opportunities for them. Because you've also got to remember that, you know, the likes of Subway, Domino, Papa John's, all of those kind of existing and very established brands nail everything down in terms of the financials for their franchising. So they make it, you know, not particularly attractive for a franchise operator to, or possible for them to make an awful lot of money from it. At the moment, they're continually squeezing, and there's little opportunity for the franchisee to make the money. Whereas if you go to a new brand, there are more opportunities because they're more flexible. You're coming in at a time when they are looking to expand and therefore looking to be flexible. And I can talk from experience on that because I've just signed a master franchise for the whole of the London area with, incidentally, a current Subway multi-store operator. So I know what I'm talking about in terms of why some of these franchisors for these established brands are looking around, and I think that's going to increase. So I think if you have got a small brand and you're looking to franchise and maybe you're only just setting out, or maybe you've got 1 or 2 stores, you've got a great opportunity now. And I think I'm particularly buoyant about this year. We've already signed 37 stores for London. We've got an overseas master franchise for 20 stores over there. I would be surprised if we don't sign at least 2 more master franchises this year for the UK, and that will probably be the busiest and most productive year that we would have ever had. And I think for a lot of the reasons that I've just given, the established franchisors and their franchisees are now looking around for other opportunities. Even the development franchisors or franchisees for the brand are looking at other opportunities, because why wouldn't you? If you're, say, a development franchisee for Subway or Papa John's or somewhere else, and there's limited room for you to grow because there are so many Subways within your catchment area, and you already have the overhead, you already have your administrative team, you already have your management team, you're going to look for another opportunity, and you would look for young brands where there's opportunity for you to earn more money. So lots of opportunity there. Now, another one away from franchising is that there are a lot of, as I said, older people who are going into retirement, and that is also true for self-employed and people who own small businesses. They're looking for exits, and we're an ageing population, and therefore there are a lot of properties coming onto the market. Also, because of the economic situation, and add on top of that, if you've got a small business where family members are not willing to come on board and join the family business, because there are far more options for young people these days in terms of university and career-wise, and they're not as willing to maybe come into family businesses, and certainly restaurants and places like that, they're not as inclined to come into those as they once were. There's a lot of opportunities and a lot of businesses out there for resale. There are a lot of distressed businesses out there, so there's opportunities to pick some of these businesses up relatively cheaply. There are more retirees, there's businesses that are consolidating their position, and therefore they're looking to dispose of areas that maybe are less profitable. Private equity firms are primed for getting rid of sections of their businesses that are not potentially profitable or are coming to the end of their funding session and therefore have to be exited. So there are opportunities there to pick up some bargains that complement your existing businesses. That may be the existing owner is, like I said, coming to retirement or has just got tired of the business, is just looking for an exit, there's an opportunity to pick those up relatively cheaply, not necessarily even using any of your own money to purchase it. You may do a deferred payment plan with them, or they may just want to get out of the business, so you may get it for next to nothing. So it's most certainly a buyer's market, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Certainly the next few years. I mean, as I said, Brexit, no one knows really what's going on there, but I don't think this is really dependent so much on Brexit. I think the very nature of an ageing population and a more educated population that is younger people have got more opportunities and therefore not willing to come into family businesses as much, present opportunities that there are so many businesses out there for sale, and it's all about picking the right one that complements your existing business. And as I said, getting back onto the franchising, there are so many opportunities there, and I think as franchising becomes a little bit more mainstream than it already is, because there's still a way to go, you're going to get more and more people being attracted to this sector. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Don't forget, I upload new episodes every Friday on iTunes and all other podcast providers as well. They are released on YouTube every Monday. If you've got a second, please leave a rating and review. It really helps me get new eyes on the show. Thanks for listening, and remember, don't let your reality get in the way of your dreams.